You're watching Race to Power. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Tonight, we're asking what next in the Iran war. Donald Trump has threatened that a whole generation will die tonight, while Iran has reportedly said that negotiations will not move forward with such threats by the American president. We talk about it in just a bit. And here in India, days ahead of the Assam elections, the state's Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma and the Congress leader Pawan Khera are now embroiled in a massive political drama. Today saw the police raid Pawan Khera's residence in New Delhi. More on this up ahead. But first, let's talk about the Iran war. US President Donald Trump has said that a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back. He is threatening to bomb Iran so much that the entire 6,000-year-old civilization will be obliterated. Donald Trump then said that it will probably happen unless Iran's government makes a deal. The man who threatened to kill an entire civilization says that if less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Now, Iran is already being pummeled as the deadline approaches. Israel's military has attacked key Iranian infrastructure. At least 2 bridges, railway tracks, and a major highway were attacked. Trains were cancelled in Iran after Israel warned that it would bomb the railway infrastructure of the country. But Iran has refused to submit. It launched yet another wave of missile and drone attacks after being hit. Its retaliation shows no signs of slowing down. Instead, Iran says that it will no longer hold back. The IRGC says that it has been exercising restraint against the Gulf states so far. But once America and its allies cross Iran's red lines, it will retaliate without any reservation. Meanwhile, the American Vice President J.D. Vance has weighed in as well, warning Iran to change its course.
We've got tools in our toolkit that we so far haven't decided to use. The President of the United States can decide to use them, and he will decide to use them if the Iranians don't change their course of conduct.
Now, neither side is backing down. Iran is preparing for any American escalation. The country's youth minister has called on Iranians to gather at the power plants to dissuade any attacks on public infrastructure. Local media reports suggest that they have already started forming human chains. An Iranian musician, Ali Ghamsari, has already begun a sit-in outside the Damawan power plant. He says that he would remain at the site and play music in the hope of helping prevent any attacks on energy facilities. The stakes are at an all-time high, and Gulf nations like Qatar are now urging de-escalation before it's too late.
We have been warning since 2023 that escalation left unchecked will get us into a situation where it cannot be controlled. And we are very close to that point. And this is why we have been urging all parties to find a resolution out of this, to find a way of ending this war before it spirals out of control.
The clock is ticking. Trump's deadline draws ever closer, and all of West Asia seems to be on the brink of a new, more brutal phase of death and destruction. The question now is, will either side back down before it's too late? All right, let's get a perspective on what has been happening and what we can expect in the next few hours. John Bynes, Strategic Director, joins me, is at the Concerned Veterans for America, United States Marine Corps and Army National Guard veteran, joining us live from Washington, D.C. at the moment. Good evening and welcome to WION. I want to start by asking you what you expect in the next few hours. There's a 12-hour deadline that is set to expire in some time from now. There are threats and counter-threats that are coming in. Should we expect a deal at all?
I'd like to say I'm optimistic, and I really hope that we see a negotiation that leads to at least a ceasefire, if not more. But I'm actually pessimistic, and I am truly afraid that this war will escalate this evening here in the U.S. and in Iran. It's very unfortunate it's gotten to this state, but I am very concerned. I think there's a better than 50-50 chance that this does escalate this evening.
So it's interesting how the Trump administration is playing this out. While Donald Trump just posted on his Truth Social that an entire civilization will die tonight and that, 47 years of corruption will end. On the other hand, you've got his vice president, J.D. Vance, who spoke in Hungary saying that, look, the negotiations are ongoing and I'm hopeful of a deal. So it's almost like a good cop, bad cop that the Trump administration is playing at the moment. Whom should we believe? You've got Donald Trump, who has been putting out threats after threats. That could be a pressure tactic as well.
Yeah, well, there's an old saying here in America, Donald Trump should be taken seriously, but not literally, right? So one hopes that that's what's going on. Threatening an entire civilization and certainly attempting to destroy an entire civilization does not reflect, American founding principles. It doesn't reflect America's historic place in the world. And that level of force is something where, I believe, and the folks at Concerned Veterans for America believe, that if we need to get to that level of force, this is where Congress should weigh in, using its war powers under Article 1 of the Constitution. That kind of force, leveling force against a people and not just a government, really requires our Congress, the American people through our Congress, to make the decision, and not just the executive branch of the U.S. government.
Let me also ask you about the Iranian side, John. They have been claiming that there are no negotiations. Then they said the negotiations have been put on hold after, Donald Trump put out this latest threat. But they've also seen reported strikes by America on the Kharg Island, as well as Israeli strikes on its rail infrastructure today. And therefore, how do you expect the Iranian leadership at the moment to move forward with the negotiations? Clearly, this will be a setback in those talks.
It will absolutely be a setback, and the Iranians continue to hold significant leverage with their ability to close the Strait of Hormuz. And the Strait of Hormuz is a very tough knot to crack. From a military perspective, that the Iranians control territory around it that has high ground, that has places they can hide weapon systems. They can use over-the-horizon weapon systems like their drones from the other side of those mountains. And it makes it very, very tough for a landing force to control that strait. Not controlling that strait makes it very, very hard to access the Persian Gulf. So Iran continues to hold that card. It's unclear to me, but I'm dubious that destroying their power plants or bridges or any other civilian infrastructure will do anything but encourage them to continue to try and choke the strait.
So let me quickly then conclude our conversation by asking you this, John. If at all a deal happens, how will that move forward? If at all a deal does not happen, how do you see Donald Trump then escalating this entire situation? Will he, or will he then consider the kind of setbacks that the American military has also been facing?
I think that there's a possibility that there are hints of a deal and that there may be a delay, an extended deadline. But I'm sure that in order for that to become real, there need to be like a ramp down in the rhetoric on our side, on the U.S. side, for there to be real negotiations to proceed. Again, a ramp up, a bombing campaign that levels bridges, that levels power plants, that levels civilian infrastructure, and deeply affects the Iranian people is going to be damaging. It's probably going to lead to retaliation against Gulf states, against the Straits of Hormuz, the release of further Iranian proxy forces around the globe, and it's going to cause global pain. So one hopes that we can get our way to a negotiated settlement, but it's not looking very encouraging in the near term.
All right, let's wait and see. The entire world has its eyes on the next few hours. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, John Vance, for joining us on WION and sharing your perspective.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, well, let's talk about this new report that is now talking about a diplomatic memo. It claims to reveal the location of Iran's new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Now, as per the Times, he was wounded in the same American-Israeli airstrike that killed his father. And as per this report, Mojtaba Khamenei is unconscious at the moment and is being treated for a severe medical condition in the Iranian city of Qom. The memo also reportedly says that Mojtaba Khamenei is unable to be involved in any decision-making by the regime. The diplomatic memo is reportedly based on American and Israeli intelligence and has been shared with their Gulf allies. Mojtaba Khamenei, remember, has not been seen or heard from since the start of this war. And this is despite being chosen to succeed his father, the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in early March. Since then, 2 statements attributed to the 56-year-old leader have been read on Iran's state television. The channel has also released a video of him walking into a war room on Monday. However, the lack of a recording of his voice has led to reports that the video is perhaps AI generated. The Times report on Mojtaba Khamenei's condition and the whereabouts comes just a day after Iran released a fresh statement attributed to their leader. In this statement, Mojtaba Khamenei has said that the assassination and crime cannot create any disruption to Iran's armed forces. The statement was released by Iran's Arab News following American-Israeli strikes that killed the IRGC intelligence chief. Well, American Vice President J.D. Vance is in Hungary days before the country goes to polls. The United States is backing Hungary's incumbent Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who has received a formal endorsement from Donald Trump himself. Vance is now also showing support for Orban in the final stretch of the campaigning before Sunday's vote. Now remember, J.D. Vance is one of the fiercest American critics of centrist and progressive European governments and one of the most fervent supporters of far-right parties in Europe. After meeting Viktor Orban, both of them addressed a joint press conference in Budapest. Listen in.
What has happened in this country, what has happened in the midst of this election campaign is one of the worst examples of foreign election interference that I've ever seen or ever even read about. The bureaucrats in Brussels have tried to destroy the economy of Hungary. They have tried to make Hungary less energy independent. They have tried to drive up costs for Hungarian consumers, and they've done it all because they hate this guy.
Vance's visit to Hungary, remember, comes after another high-profile visit by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in mid-February this year. During his visit, Rubio had wished Orban success in the 12th April election. Support from Washington comes at a very crucial time for Orban. After 16 consecutive years as the Hungarian Prime Minister, he's now facing a tough challenge from the pro-European conservative Peter Magyar. Polls by independent institutes predict a sweeping victory for Magyar. Since returning to power, Trump and his government have strongly supported leaders that they see as compatible with their ideology. Viktor Orban is aligned with the Trump administration on various issues such as anti-immigrant policies, LGBTQ+ rights, and support for Ukraine. Vance's visit and Donald Trump's word of support can, and in fact Washington, tip the balance in Orban's favor days before the polls. That's the big question. Or will the challenger, Peter Magyar, continue with his momentum towards a historic victory in Hungary's race to power? We'll of course find that out on result day.
Especially in the high moment of...
All right, shifting our focus now, Taiwan's main opposition leader has arrived in Shanghai for a rare visit aimed at building cross-strait peace. But the government warns Beijing may seek to stop American arms sales to Taiwan. This visit will run through Sunday and is regarded as an important part of the exchanges and dialogue between the KMT and the Communist Party of China. The chairwoman of KMT, Taiwan's opposition party, Cheng Li-wun, has now become the party's first leader to visit China in a decade. She's insisted on meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping before she visits the United States, Taiwan's main security backer. Cheng will be in China for 6 days, visiting Nanjing and Beijing, where she hopes to meet with Jinping. Ahead of the trip, Taiwan's top China policy body warned that Beijing would attempt to cut off Taiwan's arms purchases from the US and international cooperation, which the KMT denies. In fact, the KMT, remember, backs closer ties with China, which claims Taiwan as part of its own territory and has threatened to use force to seize it. But Cheng, who received a congratulatory message from Xi Jinping in October last year after her rise, now faces criticism of being too pro-China. Meanwhile, Taiwanese lawmakers remain deadlocked over a $39 billion defense plan, which has been stalled for months in the parliament. Taiwan's ties with China worsened as Beijing ramped up military pressure with near daily deployments of fighter jets and warships near Taiwan and regular large-scale drills. And for more on this, take a look at this report that has been sent in by Dimitri Broas from Tapai.
The template is Taiwan's former vice president's 2005 ice-breaking visit, a trip that eventually produced direct flights and tourism across the Taiwan Strait. But consider how much has changed since then. In 2005, Beijing still needed to consider Washington's attitude. Today, the US and China are locked in strategic competition with Taiwan caught in the middle. Outside the airport this morning, protesters on both sides captured the divide. Pro-unification supporters calling for peace. Taiwan independence activists warning against a united front trap. Chung says peace always has hope. The next 6 days will test that belief. This is Dimitri Broas in Taipei for TVBS World Taiwan.
It's election time in India. 5 states across the country are all set to hold polls for legislative assemblies, and one of the poll-bound states is Assam, where a political charge has now turned into a legal challenge. Accusations leveled by the Congress leader Pawan Khera against Assam's chief minister Himanta Biswa Sarma's wife have now led to a police raid in the national capital. The Assam police conducted a search operation at Pawan Khera's residence today, but the leader was not present there. The high-octane political drama comes after Pawan Khera accused Assam chief minister's wife WION Sarma of having 3 different passports and overseas properties that are not disclosed in the affidavit which is filed by Himanta Biswa Sarma. The Assam chief minister called these accusations false and said that documents presented by Pawan Khera were fabricated. Following this, WION Sarma filed a complaint against Pawan Khera, who is now facing forgery-related charges. Taking a dig at Khera, Himanta Biswa Sarma said that the Congress leader left for Hyderabad after challenging authorities to arrest him.
Assam police can find people from anywhere. Congress should reveal who gave them these documents. I suspect it is Rahul Gandhi who came up with fake documents, so this case will extend to him as well.
Meanwhile, hitting out at the Assam Chief Minister, Congress leader and Member of Parliament in the Rajya Sabha, Jairam Ramesh, said that deployment of police and army officials to arrest Pawan Khera for asking basic questions. He said that Himanta Biswa Sarma is disturbed, desperate and rattled. Remember, Assam is going to polls on the 9th of April this year. Congress and the Bharatiya Janata Party are the front-runners to take the top spot, with Himanta Biswa Sarma vying for a second consecutive term as the Chief Minister of India's northeastern state. Right, we've got a breaking news coming in. India has issued an advisory considering the possible escalation in the American-Israeli war against Iran. The advisory says, and I quote, in view of the rapidly evolving situation in Iran, Indian nationals who are currently in Iran are advised to stay put where they are, shelter in place and avoid further movements. Any movement within Iran and to the border crossings of Iran may be considered only in close coordination with the Indian Embassy in Tehran and after obtaining explicit guidance of the embassy. It also goes on to say that the Indian Embassy remains available to guide Indian nationals in Iran through helplines. Several helpline numbers have been shared as well to help Indian nationals contact the country's diplomatic missions. This, remember, comes as Donald Trump's deadline for Iran to make a deal and reopen the Strait of Hormuz is now getting closer. It also comes after the American president has threatened to wipe out an entire civilization tonight. That's what he has said. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Remember, Iranians are showing no signs of backing down at the moment. The Indian embassy now issuing an advisory for Indian nationals to take shelter, to make no unnecessary movement without the approval of the authorities. Now remember, this is also coming in as the entire world awaits what happens once that deadline is reached in a few hours from now. 8 p.m. ET is the time that Donald Trump has given to Iran. Both sides seem to be headed for a massive escalation unless the deal is made or somebody backs down. Remember, the region of West Asia and everyone in it are likely to face even greater danger. So, of course, India preparing for any possible escalation tonight or in the next few hours as well. That's the latest that is coming in at the moment as far as India is concerned. But let's quickly go across to one more breaking input that is coming in at the moment. Right, this is a breaking input coming in. White House has denied it is considering using nuclear weapons in Iran. This comes amid some reports of the extremities that US may engage in and tools which US could use. President Donald Trump has sharply ramped up his threats against Iran. Remember, warning that a whole civilization will die tonight. These are his words that he's posted. But now the White House has denied all the speculation that has been going on as far as the use of nuclear weapons is concerned. The White House has said we are not considering the use of nuclear weapons against Iran. Of course, this speculation rose even further after this post that Donald Trump has made, the ones that you see on your screen, where he said that a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back. This is coming in just a few hours before his deadline for Iran ends. Whether or not there is a deal that happens at the end of these next few hours when the deadline ends, we'll have to wait and see. But remember, the messages right now remain suspended as far as Iranian side is concerned. These are the reports that are coming in from the Iranian media. The latest threat came after US forces overnight struck military targets on the Karg Island, which is Iran's main oil export terminal, as well as strikes on Iran's railway infrastructure today, all through the day in 4 different provinces. All right, shifting our focus now, over 90 lakh names have been removed from the voter list of India's poll-bound state of West Bengal. Now, this move is part of the Special Intensive Revision, or the SIR, of the voter list conducted by India's Election Commission. The final voter list is yet to be released by the poll body, but the data of the deleted voters has reduced the voter base by 11.85% as compared to the last available list. People who have their names deleted have the option to challenge it in tribunals, but there's little time left for resolution as the state goes to polls from the 23rd of April. With the final supplementary list released, the voter list now stands frozen. Any changes in this list will be subjected to fresh directions by the Supreme Court of India, which is scheduled to hear a case related to West Bengal SIR on the 13th of April. This entire exercise has been marred by allegations from West Bengal's ruling political party, the Trinamool Congress, and other opposition parties. They are saying that voters of Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee's ruling party are being targeted in the name of SIR. 4 districts that have seen the largest number of deletions are Murshidabad, Malda, North 24 Parganas and South 24 Parganas. The TMC has secured 85 out of 98 seats in these 4 particular districts back in the 2021 assembly elections. And now, over 30 lakh names have been deleted from the voter list on these districts. As per an analysis done by a Kolkata-based research organization, 95% of the deleted voters in Nandigram are from the Muslim community. The Election Commission of India argues that the process has been carried out in a phased and transparent manner. Officials say the entire exercise has been undertaken in compliance with the established guidelines. All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. But as always, we will keep getting you updates and analysis from India and across the world. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
Five states, one powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives.